What's up guys, Tipsy Gamer here. Today I'm going to walk you through replacing the battery in an old Game Boy cartridge. Obviously cartridges no longer need batteries, and most consoles don't even need cartridges anymore. But if you're like me, it's hard to top the feeling of an old Game Boy in your hand. So let's get started. So here's everything you'll need. In addition to the Game Boy game that you'd like to change the battery of, you'll need a solder tool with some solder, a sucker tool, which comes standard with most solder kits. That's going to suck out the old solder. Some tweezers are helpful to remove the battery once the old solder is removed. You'll need a new battery, and you'll also need a screwdriver that has a special top that opens that pesky little screw in the back side of your cartridge. If you order a pack of batteries, it's likely to come with the screwdriver that you need. Glasses are optional. However, if you're like me and have poor eyesight, you might want to use some glasses so you don't burn yourself, more importantly, so you don't ruin your game. So your first step is to plug your solder tool in. You can check if it's working by touching the tip with your bare finger. Completely kidding, please don't do that. It's very hot. All right, while that's warming up, we'll go ahead and remove the back side of the cartridge via the single screw in the back, and we'll remove the motherboard from the middle of the cartridge. So unscrew your screw, put it to the side for safekeeping so as not to lose it, and then your front will just slide right off. Once you remove your top, out comes the motherboard. Now you can see here's the battery. Pay attention to the direction and the orientation of the battery before you remove it so that you can install the new battery in the exact same manner. We'll go ahead and take out a new battery as well. Again, tweezers can be very helpful. New battery. The direction we're going to orient it is going to be just like this. So I'll set it aside in that direction for now. Our next step is to remove the old battery. The way you're going to do this is you're going to heat up the solder that attaches this current battery to the motherboard. And by heating it up, you can use your sucker tool to suck out the old solder and remove the old battery. Here we go. You'll go ahead and pull the plunger down so that it's ready to suck up. It can take a second for the solder to heat up enough to melt and be sucked out, and it may take a couple of tries as well. Just be careful not to melt the motherboard and get it too hot where you'll damage the game. Once you've removed most of the old solder, it can be easier to just lift it away . While it's hot. So you see, we've removed one side. We'll flip it on over. We're going to remove the other side. I'm going to suck out some of that old solder first, and then I'll do the same thing with the tweezers. I will lift the battery while heating the remaining solder to lift the battery right out of the old solder. All right, most of the solder has been removed. I will use the tweezers underneath to remove it as soon as the solder is warm. And there you have it. Old battery has been removed. Let those tabs cool for just a moment before setting it down and to the side. Now there is some solder still left behind, so I'm going to clean that up before we put the new battery in. All right, so as you can see, here's all of my old solder that has been removed. So now we're going to place the new battery back where that was, and you'll need some new solder to stick it to that motherboard. So here we go. Now it can be easier to put the solder on first, heat it up, and then drop this in. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna heat up some solder on these spots. With some new solder there, we're now just going to place the battery there and heat it up and let those tabs melt into the new solder. Get it just in the right spot before you do it. The tabs will need to line up. All right, with the battery in place, we'll go ahead and melt that solder we just put down on both sides. Some additional solder may be needed, but it appears that my battery is on pretty well. Just in case, we'll put a tad bit more on this side. And that's covered. And that side's covered. All right, now it's time to put everything back together. Move this safely to the side. Again, remembering that it is on and very hot. Please don't burn yourself. First things first, we'll put the motherboard back inside the cartridge. Now that the battery and the solder have cooled, we will slide the front back on. Put the screw back in the back. And we have a brand new cartridge. Now let's go test it out and make sure it still works. And there we see our save file is alive and well, and we can continue saving our game to play through the rest of Pokemon Silver. Thanks for watching. Make sure and subscribe for more tipsy video game content.